Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning to everyone present here. I am Devidat Nayak of Group 2 and I will be presenting about a mechanism of action of ADH. Starting with ADH acts on kidneys to conserve water and on blood vessels to regulate the blood pressure. There are two types of receptors that can act on which the ADH acts. They are V1 and V2. Now coming to the V2 receptors, they help in increasing the permeability of renal tubules as the ADH acts on them. The mechanism starts with the increase in cyclic AMP on the target cells, which activates the protein kinase, and then it leads to the phosphorylation of membrane and cellular proteins. Through this, the vesicles and endosomes are transported through microtubules and microfilaments into the luminal side of the tubule. Now to explain this flowchart, it starts with the release of ADH from posterior pituitary, binding of ADH with receptors on collecting duct and distal convoluted tubule, and next activation of adenylyl cyclase cyclic AMP system, increased cycling AMP in the cytosol, which leads to activation of protein kinase, phosphorylation of cytosolic proteins, transport of endosomes by microfilaments, incorporation of endosomes containing water channels or aquaporins to luminal surface of epithelial cells of DCT and collecting duct, increased water reabsorption via aquaporins. Now coming to the aquaporins, they are really important in this chapter as they help in explaining the mechanism of water reabsorption. They are really important because the scientist who discovered this was awarded with Nobel Prize in Chemistry. His name was Peter Agg in 2003. There are 13 types of aquaporins starting with AQP0 and AQP to AQP12. AQP1, 2 and 3 are present in the kidney. AQP4 is present in the brain. AQP5 is present in the lacrimal glands and salivary glands along with the respiratory system. AQP9 is present in the human leukocytes. And coming to the renal mechanisms, aquaporin 2 is really important in it. Now coming to the V1 receptors, they are subdivided into V1A and V1B. V1 receptors help in constriction of smooth muscle of the blood vessels. V1B increases the corticotrophin releasing hormone, which in turn leads to more adrenocorticotrophic releasing hormone. Now starting with the mechanism of V1A receptors. V1A receptor, ADH binds to the V1A receptors, which leads to the activation of enzyme phospholipase C, which is also called as PLC. Then PLC breakdown membrane phospholipid PIP2, phosphatidyl inositol 4,5 bisphosphate, and then it leads to cleavage of PIP2 into two pieces, DAG and IP3. IP3 reaches the endoplasmic reticulum, which binds to IP3 receptor, which is a calcium channel. It leads to the increase in intercellular concentration of a calcium in the cytosol, which leads to the muscle contraction of the smooth muscle of the blood vessels. Now coming to the functions of ADH, acts on the collecting duct, increase water reabsorption secreted in conditions like hypotension, hypovolemia and hypoosmolarity. And in the second, restoration of ECF volume in condition of acute diarrhea, vomiting. And it also causes vasoconstriction, also responsible for increased BP. Water conservation occurs at physiological concentration, whereas vasoconstriction occurs at supraphysiological condition of ADH, which means that first it is regulated, it regulates the water concentration in the body, but if it fails, then the next step, which is the supraphysiological concentration of ADH, controls the vasoconstriction of blood. And at last, ADH and CRH release and therefore increases ACTH secretion. And some other functions of ADH are, it facilitates memory, acting as neurotransmitter in memory's area of the brain. It causes contraction of the smooth muscles of spermatic cord, which facilitates in the ejaculation of sperms. And it is mediated via V2 receptors. Now coming to this flow chart, it starts with diarrhea, vomiting, and etc. This leads to loss of water, and it leads to three different responses. That is increased plasma osmolarity, decreased ECF volume, and decreased blood pressure. In response to increased plasma osmolarity, osmoreceptors in hypothalamus secrete ADH neurons in hypothalamus, and for decreased ECF volume, low pressure receptors in atria or veins decrease the vagal activity, and it leads to the same ADH secretion, ADH secreting neurons in hypothalamus. And a quite similar mechanism also takes place: decreased blood pressure. In this, high pressure arterial receptors leads to activation of nucleus tractus solitarius in medulla, and it leads to the same result: ADH secreting neurons in hypothalamus, and they all together increase the ADH, which leads to water reabsorption from kidney and restoration of ECF volume. Now coming to the applied physiology of diabetes insipidus, it is characterized by abnormally large amount of urine, excretory urine, and the other characteristics are polyuria. ADH deficiency promotes water diuresis, and coming to polydipsia, it is a secondary response that occurs to the first response, polyuria. It is increased amount of thirst. There are two types of diabetes insipidus: nephrogenic and neurogenic. Nephrogenic is the failure of kidney to give response to the ADH, whereas neurogenic deficiency of ADH secretion is present, also called as central diabetes insipidus. And now I will